All right. Good morning. Good morning. Today is August 28th, 2022. And as always, before we get started here, if you wouldn't mind, if you're watching us on Facebook or if you're watching us in our private community, we're being streamed in a few different places here. But if you're watching on any of those channels, if you would jump over to YouTube, maybe after we're done with this conversation, jump over to YouTube and give us a like and subscribe on the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, short and sweet today. I have a hard out here within about a half an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. What I want to talk to all of you today about is really just asking the question. And this is a fairly common question, especially with new folks getting into the business. And the question is, should I or am I required to be licensed to become a real estate investor, meaning a licensed agent? And I will tell you that I am not a licensed agent. However, my wonderful wife is licensed. Even though she can't stand being in real estate, she's just not a big fan of real estate. That's her prerogative, I suppose. But I asked her to become licensed so that because I really, really, I've said this a million times, but if you're going to be in this business and you want to be a professional in this business, then you should probably, if you don't have it already, you should probably have MLS access. It is hands down going to be the best source of any information that you're going to need on any of these properties that you're looking at. But I didn't want to. I kind of copped out, to be honest with you. I copped out to becoming an agent, and it's just the way it worked out. And am I opposed to it? Absolutely not. I would, if my wife didn't want to become an agent, and I couldn't get access to the MLS through her, then I probably would have done it as well. In fact, I did start it at one point. It was just probably utterly the most boring thing that I've ever had to study. Um, and it's not because I think real estate is boring. I think it's because really the test to become an agent is really it's kind of scandalous. I mean, it's like they're not the questions are designed more to trick you than they are to catch you not looking really, and or not reading, which I guess has its perks as well. Because if you're reading thoroughly in these, if you're reading the test questions thoroughly, because they'll try and trip you up with questions, and I don't know of a really good way to explain this, but they will try and trip you up, and they'll throw in a word like an and or statement or something like that, and try and trip you up. And honestly, it's just not. I don't look at it as like a real, like if I I went and took a college course, I would be tested on something. It wouldn't be a bunch of trick questions more than likely. Regardless, my wife went through it. She became an agent. I got MLS access. But that does not mean that I don't think that folks should become an agent. Um, it does have its perks for sure. Number one, I've already talked about it, it's MLS access. If you're going to be a professional, if you're going to call yourself a professional, just get MLS access. And if you don't have it, that should be, your information should come directly from the MLS on your properties. Period. Um, I've used things like PropStream and Property Radar, all that good stuff, and that's fine. For temporary kind of temporary information, but it's really stale information for the most part. I found data. I mean, honestly, I found data that's 2 and 3 years old on PropStream before, and that just doesn't work for me. So, but yeah, so let's talk about some of the benefits of getting your license. Number one, I've already stated it. Stated the obvious: MLS access. You need MLS access. Uh, Another benefit is really the networking environment, or um, the networking that the MLS can provide. It can get you in touch with tons and tons of different people. In fact, there's a lot more investors that are licensed than you can possibly imagine. I think a lot of those folks, they get into they jump into real estate thinking that they're going to make a ton of money on listings and what have you, and being a buyer's agent, what have you. Um, but there's honestly the truth of the matter is very few of those people really do really well. Like very few of them. There might be a handful in your market, but I think if you've been in the business for any time, you know who those people are, because they are just absolute monsters. The big brokerages and the people who are doing tons and tons of deals. But for the most part, a lot of agents struggle. They really do. And so a lot of them turn to the investing side, which is totally understandable. Like I said, I chose to go straight to the investing side. I didn't really want to become an agent, but that's how a lot of them start out. A lot of people start out as an agent, and then they move into the investing side. And I kind of look at that as maybe they're behind the curve a little bit. Um, Maybe they got a taste of what being an agent, how competitive that really is. They got a taste of what that looks like, and so they decided to become an investor. I really do believe, though, that becoming an agent, I think it's probably where we are. I won't say this where everyone's, there's a lot of legislation out right now. There's a lot of questions about the legitimacy of, say, wholesaling and things like that. And this week, I said I'm not going to pick on wholesalers this week, and I mean it. I'm not, but that I do feel like there's this kind of this movement towards a lot of states. We've seen it in Illinois. We've seen it in Oklahoma. We've seen a lot of legislation through the real estate commissions in those states requiring people to be licensed to flip properties. And I think it's crazy. I think it's utter nonsense, to be honest with you. But there is sort of a legitimacy factor there. I mean, anyone can go out and take the exam, the real estate exam. Anyone can do that. You can do that at any time. It doesn't take any kind of specialized. Well, I won't say it's a little bit specialized training, but really anyone can do it. It's not. It's really just learning, like what I talked about in the beginning. It's really just learning kind of how they're going to word things and different plays on words that they have. But if you are licensed, it does add a little bit of legitimacy to your business, and that is a fact. So, getting a license, being licensed, I honestly don't. There's really no drawback in my mind to becoming licensed. Even though I'm not a licensed agent, I just can't see how it's much of a problem. And in fact, I think it plugs you in a little deeper and a little bit better to that network of folks that have been in the business for a while. And I think it could actually help you jumpstart your business. So, not opposed to it at all. Um, so let's take a look real quick. I've got a couple of notes here that I went ahead and jotted down. Um, so we talked about access. We talked about networking. Here's another one. This kind of plays on the legitimacy, your reputation. If you are an agent who's also an investor, and you're sending out marketing and what have you, we know that there are requirements when you're marketing for properties. We know that as an agent, or if you're an agent, there are going to be requirements that you disclose that you're an agent. And so, what does that do? what does that do for you? It does increase your reputation a little bit, because honestly, there have been a lot of bad actors in this business, and some people, especially if we've got a lot of we market to a lot of landlords, and so in fact, I was talking to one. It was last weekend. I was talking to a landlord last weekend. He owns several properties, and he really had a lot of negative things to say about these investors. And these were wholesalers. And I don't know what these guys did to make him mad, but he was probably one of the. It was quite comical, really, to listen to him talk. Uh, but if you're not used to that type of behavior, you got to have your skin's got to be a little bit thicker. Um, but no, I mean, it does. Being an agent does increase that reputation just a little bit, just slightly. Then again, it can, on the flip side of that, can hurt you, because they think that, a lot of these sellers are going to think that all you're doing is looking to list their property. So, so there's that. Um, let's take a look here. Here you go. This is a big one. Access to deals. A lot of folks are, we're all taught, I think, particularly a lot of wholesalers, a lot of those folks are taught that you can't find a deal on the MLS. And that is, honestly, that's just total baloney. Total and utter baloney. A lot of folks, all they do, particularly folks who, sellers or owners who have not been in this business for a very long time. It's the only thing that they know. All they know is to put a property out on the MLS. They don't, they really don't have any other idea. They have no other way of selling their properties. They're not like a lot of us who are entrenched and kind of intertwined with this network of other investors. A lot of these folks are just kind of mom and pop shops, or they're they might own 1, 2, or 3 rental properties. They have no other real experience in selling a property. So a lot of that does exist on the MLS. I'm going to tell you a little secret in our coaching program. We don't. Almost all of our properties that we flip, they are almost all listed on the MLS. I mean, there's very few that we actually have send out to cash buyers. I mean, we just don't. I mean, for a number of reasons. Number one is you make the most money, generally speaking, when you list on the MLS. If you can't, so but yeah, so being plugged in to that type of environment is really it's really going to benefit you, just because you're going to be seeing these deals first. You're going to be seeing, you're talking about expired listings, you're talking about brand new listings of absentee owners, and all kinds of that good stuff on the MLS. So do not discount sourcing deals from the MLS. Another really great benefit of having your license is education. Like I said, you're going to be plugged into this network, and the more you can understand about this business, the more you can understand how things kind of work, and the little nuances of getting a deal done and all that good stuff, the more you're going to benefit from it. So education is a huge one. And then you have, let's say, what we used to teach in our coaching program was, absolutely don't go get your license. It's bad for it. But, it's kind of changed my tune on that, because what we were doing before was if we had a seller that didn't want to, that didn't accept our offer, what have you, we would then push that out. We push that lead out to a listing agent. And well, I mean, we've just really, I mean, it's not that that's a bad thing to do, but that you can still monetize that by giving that agent a listing. But you can also, if you have your license, you can list that yourself, and you can make that full commission off of it. So, I mean, earning a commission is my mentor used to tell me a little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. And so, so earning a commission on that sale, I mean, definite benefit the way that I see it. Um, yeah, we talked about credibility a little bit, access to deals, extra income, and really, I mean, there's really very little downside to it. Very, very little downside. It's not, it's not something that it's not for everyone. Let's just put it that way. But there is very little downside to actually becoming an agent. So, if any of you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat there. Happy to take a couple questions this morning. And I do have like I said, I do have a hard out that I've got to be off this call. But anyway, happy to answer any questions you might have or field any comments. Let me take a look through my notes here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah. Here's a great one too. Your paperwork. I mean, we have our own contracts and our own kind of our own way of doing things. And again, I'm not an agent, so we have all of our contracts are private. Everything had gone has gone through an attorney, so we're good. But sometimes I will tell you, our contracts can scare people because they're used to seeing the Association of Realtors plastered all over the place, and it doesn't. It's not to say that our contracts are scary or they're written they're written in a way that that isn't beneficial to both sides, but there is, I guess this really goes back to credibility. There is some credibility when we're talking about having paperwork that comes from the Association of Realtors in your area. So it's sort of like pay for play type of thing. Like it's kind of like the BBB. I think everybody pretty much knows that the BBB stands for baloney, baloney, baloney. It's not. The BBB is really a pay to play type of service. But when people see that BBB sticker, they just they get this really good feeling, and it's kind of the same feeling that you're going to get when you're using contracts and paperwork that come directly from the Association of Realtors. And so yeah, there is that. Another thing too, another benefit I suppose is always having the proper disclosures. Because if you're an agent, if you're a listing agent or a buyer's agent, you're representing somebody, so you always need to have the proper disclosures. And some of us, we operate our investing businesses without even really knowing what the proper disclosures are. Whether we're providing those to our buyers or our sellers. So there's that, and so I mean, it could be anything from lead-based paint, any of those disclosures. And different states have different disclosure requirements and things like that. But one thing I will say about being an agent versus or in combination with an investor, one of the downfalls, I think, is that people can get wrapped up in people have a tendency to get wrapped up in money now, and it's understandable. If you are, maybe you're someone who needs and this is one of the big draws to wholesaling. If you need to build up cash reserves, well, one of the quickest ways to do that is probably through wholesaling. Or if you're an agent, it's probably through listing. But I think it distracts you from actually becoming, having that monthly cash flow and that monthly, that monthly income that lasts forever versus, you get one listing and you might make $6,000-7,000 on that listing, but you got to do that over and over and over again. And that's one of my One of my big issues that I have with wholesaling is a lot of fun. I mean, I get a kick out of everything. I get a real charge out of doing quick flips, but uh, that is a fleeting thing. Wholesaling, like I said, you got to be on it all the time. It's the same thing with being an agent. You've got to be always on. You got to be turned on all the time. And so I think one of the drawbacks, definitely, to becoming an agent is that distraction element from the actual uh, from building that time freedom and building that monthly income and monthly cash flow. So let me see here. All right. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, look, I guess some folks have figured that out. Some folks are using the chat. All right. Any of you guys have any questions? Feel free, dump them in the chat. Happy to take some questions. If you have any comments, if some of you folks who are in the chat right now, if you have your license, if you are a licensed agent and would like to talk a little bit about what it's done for you, or what it has, or maybe how it has, what it's not done for you. However you'd like to, uh, however you'd like to put that. Let's see here. Okay. Hey, good morning, Miguel. Nice to see you. All right. So, sweet. Casey is signed up to get her. Now, Casey, are you're signed up to become an agent next? Are you starting classes next month, or are you actually taking the test next month? Yeah. By the way, becoming an agent is something you can do 100% online, and I think that's where I failed. It's very tough for me to. I tend to fall asleep during that stuff. Like I just can't. It's just not my. Cool. She's doing classes. Yeah, I think we're on the same page. I just can't. It's something I can't do online. My wife did it online. In fact, my wife passed her exam on her first try. She did pretty well, but she's got she's just got more. I think she can pay attention better than I can, for sure. So good for you. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I mean, I think I just can't see a downside to having it. I mean, unless you just hate making more money, or hate. Yeah, yeah. Casey says she needs classes, self-directed. Yep, I hear you. I'm the same way. I have a very short attention span, and in fact, I've got a window that's just to my side here, and if I were sitting here taking an exam, or taking a self study for my exam, I would just start staring out the window, and I just lose it. I just can't keep up. So, all right. All right. Does anybody have comments or questions about getting their license? How many? Show of hands. I don't know if you can actually do that, but maybe maybe comment me if those of you are actually contemplating getting your license. Other than Casey, I already know you are. Boy, I am just not good. I can see these. I can see the questions rolling in here, but I just can't type that fast. So, all right, guys. Okay, well, I'm approaching the 4 minute mark, and I need to jump off of here. But if anybody has anything, there we go. Miguel's working on it. Good deal. Where are you from, Miguel? Casey asks, "Are you still doing discounts for the course?" Casey, we have completely redesigned. Um, it's not even called the apprentice program anymore. We've completely redesigned the whole thing. We made it more into Odessa, Texas. Good deal, Miguel. But we've completely redesigned what we. Here's what I figured out. I figured out that the way that we had it designed before with the apprentice program was a little overwhelming. We failed in recognizing that, dumping all of this material on people and just assuming that they were going to go through it, the way that it was really laid out, was a mistake. It was a mistake on my part for sure. So what we did was we completely redesigned it. We turned it into more of it's like a college course. So it's a 90-day program. So essentially, what we do is folks come in. It's a cohort style. So you come in on the first of the month. You follow. It's the first 30 days is literally just drinking from a fire hose. It's just constant every day is and it's all through video and stuff like it. So if you learn through video, it's a great it's designed really nicely. But really ultimately that was kind of our folly was dumping everything on folks who came in, new apprentices who came in, and it was tough. I mean, I can go through and I designed it, so I can go through it and I can understand. I can understand the sequence of things, but I assumed that everybody else thought the way that I did, and that was just a mistake on my part. And so with in fact, we changed the name of it. It's a creative financing. I'm sorry, it's a creative finance academy. And so again, it's more designed as a sort of like a college course where the first 30 days uh, you are just, like I said, drinking from the fire hose. You are just taking lesson after lesson after lesson, completing modules. After that first 30 days, we kind of release you into the wild. We let you start implementing what you learned in those first 30 days for days 60 through 90, and then we're just there to support you the entire way. So um, it took some outside perspective for me to realize that was the issue. That's the problem that we were having. So we were just having students that were just honestly they just weren't taking any action, and it really did eat at me that that we had folks that would join our calls, and it was just that it's one thing to learn and understand things, but if you spend too much time in that area, it's just you're just never going to get anywhere. That's all there is to it. And so the academy was designed for action. But Casey, if you want to talk about the discounts, we for sure. In fact, right now we have a Labor Day thing going on. Be happy to talk to you about it, but don't generally discuss pricing on these things just because we run specials, pricing changes sometimes, and so if I say something today and then somebody goes back and watches this video in 6 months, well, you know, who knows? That pricing may have changed. So, all right. Does anybody else have anything? Anybody have anything? Yeah, gotcha, Casey. Like I said, if you want to talk about it a little bit more, happy to talk about it. I think in fact, we've brought on, it's not just myself now, we've got two other coaches now. And, these guys are whizzes. And I think you know one of them for sure. And that's Mr. Hans Mosicki. That guy is an absolute beast. And that guy he was probably, this is not to, this isn't to cut anybody else down, but Hans many people we had last year we cycled through almost 50 students, and Hans was one of the only people that actually went through the program the way it was designed from start to finish. And in less than a year, our goal has always been, and I will maintain this, it's still true to this day, one house a month. That's all that we need. We only need, I mean, we'd love to have more, but if you can't do a house a month, you're probably in the wrong business. That's the way I feel about it. But Hans, he took that to heart, and so uh, he came in with the original. I think in November of 2020 is when Hans came in, and he came in as a wholesaler, and which is totally fine. We can help people in any way, and anybody in this business we can help 100%. And it took us a little while though for of Hans really kind of seeing what we're talking about. It's wholesaling is great, but wholesaling for us is a byproduct of what we do. It's not our main, it's not our primary function. We're not teaching people how to just wholesale. We wholesaling for us is an exit strategy, and plain and simple, that's what it is. Um, but anyway, Hans followed this completely from start to finish, the way it was designed. And so he came in November 2020. In August of 2021, Hans decided, okay, I get the wholesaling thing. It's really kind of it's a tough business to be in. It requires you to be on all the time, and Hans got tired of it. So Hans and his partner said, okay, we want to get into buy and hold. And so that's exactly what they did. So, and they wanted to do it all creatively, which is right up my alley. That's what we specialize in. And so what Hans did was he started in August of 2021. And we said, Hans, if you can buy a house per month for the next year, you don't have to worry about, it's going to pay all of your bills. We figured out what he needed. And so, August 2021, Hans started buying houses creatively, whether that's through seller, some kind of seller carry, subject to. I know he loves subject to quite a bit, and so I think it was just this past week or maybe the week before. Hans does a lot of these reels, these Facebook reels or Instagram reels. Hans just closed on his 14th or 15th subject to deal in the past year. And so it really was gratifying to me because obviously I know I'm not crazy. I know this works. I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this since 2015, 2016. I know it works. But my point is that the academy, the way it's laid out right now, is how it's supposed. It's the sequencing and the getting the right materials and getting the right instruction at the right time. That's how it's sequenced now, and it's been really great so far. So, but Hans, I'm super proud of him. So we brought Hans in as a coach to kind of sum up. He's kind of like a junior coach, but that guy's a beast. I mean, in fact, he's helped us in our business fill some gaps. So he's just a great resource. The guy's awesome. All right. Well, I feel like I have totally monopolized the time there. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask or comment on or anything like that? I'm open. I've already broken my rule. I'm about 5 minutes over. Our feed show. Okay, I get it now. I'm catching on, man. I'm a little slow on this platform, but all right, folks. Well, that's going to do it, I suppose. Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. It helps us out tremendously. If you're watching on Facebook, maybe follow the link to YouTube and give us a like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to join our private community. In fact, I will tell you a real quick story. I had a video pulled from YouTube, and it was really just a video that it was all about the sales process, and they pulled this because of some kind of bullying and harassment. I'm like, did you people even watch this? I don't get why you would pull that, but it's that type of stuff that it's for that reason that we're trying to get people over into our private community. The private community, it's privately hosted. It's hosted on a third-party platform. outside of YouTube and Facebook and all that good stuff. And it's just it's a more open environment. We don't have to monitor and moderate, content and worry about what other people are saying. So if you haven't, just jump on over to community.sub2empire.com, and that's just how you see the name of this channel, SUB, the number 2 empire.com, community.sub2empire.com. All right, folks, have a great Sunday. I will catch you guys next week. Got any questions? Go ahead. You can go ahead and throw them in this post on Facebook or preferably in the community. But take care. Peace, guys.